Alright, this is a Spawn animated pitch. I had an idea for this kind of series. That's no animated series or show I think has done this before, but only a couple. But I can't really recall them right now. In the comic Spawn, around issue 170, they introduced the idea that every generation, for every time period, there's a Spawn. Like for the, for every era there is a Spawn. And how I would do it is in the show. How I would introduce that, like in the Animatrix and stuff like Gotham Knights, they did different types of stories, and different animators and different writers came on to the series, to those different segments. Now, how I would do it is each segment would be 10 episodes long. We would get to know the character, the development, and it would be 10 episodes long, and then we would move on to another Spawn. And that's how I would do it. Because I think the idea of there being different Spawns for different generations is very interesting. They can do so much with that. And it would be interesting to see how they would come about doing that. I would love to see an animated series done like that. Of course, it would be dark and gritty, because you can't have the series Spawn without being dark and gritty, because that's kind of its thing. It would be on HBO or something like that, kind of like the first animated series was, but a lot better animation, and different writers and different artists and cartoonists would come onto the show for each kind of story, for each Spawn story, and it would just keep going on like that. Some segments will be longer, depending on if they needed to expand it for the character. And each episode, I would have it is, I was thinking of doing maybe each episode kind of an hour long, because there's never been an animated series that's been like that. Or just have it traditionally where it's 30 minutes long, or 20 minutes, excluding the commercials and all that. And that's how I would do the animated pitch. That's how I would do a new Spawn animated series. Instead of having it focusing on just one Spawn for the entire series, because I think it would be interesting. I think that idea that they introduce in the comics now, that there's more than one Spawn, that there's been a Spawn for each generation, is very interesting. And I've just never seen an animated series do that before, that focuses on a character each 10 episodes, and then they move on to something new. And eventually all these will be connected. These stories will be kind of connected to each other, and towards the end of the series, they would all meet up, and kind of fight the ultimate enemy. And I just think that idea is very interesting. It has so much potential. The series has so much potential to kind of get back on its feet, and I really think that's a good idea, a good way of doing it, instead of just focusing on one Spawn and kind of running out of ideas to do with that one character. Which you can do, you can come up with new ideas for one character, but it kind of gets old. Whereas if you keep bringing in new characters, you would have 10 episodes is plenty long to get a point across. And you can really get to know a character like that, and you can just move on. I think that would be a very interesting idea. if I were to have a chance to work on a Spawn animated series, that's what I would do with the character. I would have it where um, there would be different kind of short stories, and they would be 10 episodes long, um, dark and gritty, and some of them would be light, some of them would be kind of cartoony-ish, lighthearted, and some of them would be very gritty and dark. Each would be different and unique in its own way. And that's my idea for a Spawn animated series and how they should do it, because I just think the idea of there being different types of Spawn out there is interesting. Where you can do it in the Mesozoic era, the dinosaur era, or you can do it in the future, the very distant future, and where there's a Spawn in that type of world. And it'd be very cool to explore, because it's never really been done before in a cartoon, except with stuff like I said, Animatrix and Gotham Knights and stuff like that. And even in Dante's Inferno, kind of how they did Dante's Inferno. If you haven't seen that animated movie yet, that's how I would kind of do it, but I would expand it where it's 10 episodes long. It'd be very much like that. I think that would be a very cool idea for a series. I just really hope they do something like that for the series, if they plan on doing another Spawn animated show. Alright guys, that's my thoughts. Tell me what you think about that, and I am out.